What is up, duelists? Arson Crofts here, once again bringing you your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format action. Most of you probably know, but yesterday was the GOATformat.com Patreon World Championship Qualifier number 71, and I do not believe that there was an official English language broadcast of it. So for those of you who weren't able to catch the games live while they were being played, I thought it would be good to do a recap of at least one of the matches. The tournament is also not concluded, by the way. The finals are going to be on Monday, so definitely if you're interested, stay tuned for that. But we're going to go over one of the semifinal matches of the tournament. As the feature match today, it's going to be Scrub for Life versus Insidious. So yeah, like I said, semifinals, really big tournament. I think it was at least 60 people, one of the largest, if not the largest, PWCQs of all time. So really cool to see GOAT format popping off. And two top competitors in the format here finding themselves in the semifinals. We'll see who takes it down. Looks like Scrub for Life won that RPS and is going to go first. They will lead out with Graceful Charity, so not a bad start. And they will be discarding, let's see, Blade Knight and Nobleman of Crossout. So, potentially on, or most likely on a warrior strategy here. Generally, if you're playing like Turbo or Chaos Control, you're going to want to hold your Graceful until you have like a Sinister Serpent or your Thunder Dragons or your Night Assailants to get value out of it in terms of card advantage. But in Warrior, it's generally just more of a card filtration tool. It's a Scrub for Life just firing it off here, pitching a couple monsters, improving their hand. Good stuff. And they found Pot of Greed here as well, which is really nice. So a little bit of Graceful into Pot action. So solid, semifinals of a major tournament, and you're opening double Trinity to start. It's pretty good. Show me the duo for the trifecta. No, not the duo, so only double Trinity here for Scrub for Life. And then they're going to go normal summon Donzalug, set for back row pass, a classic warrior opening, playing around potential trap dust shoot out of Insidious by making sure that they stay below 4 cards after their draw next turn. And sticking a threat with a bunch of stuff behind it. Very likely that they have like a Solemn Judgment set, of course, to protect their back row from Heavy Storm. So really nice opening there. Insidious under a lot of pressure early. We'll see what they can do, though. They begin main phase 1 without any trap dust shoots. That's pretty nice. I'm going to fire off an Upstart Goblin. Okay, dig a little bit further into the deck. And then Graceful Charity as well. Okay, so Insidious opening at least one Trinity piece of their own. Not too bad. And they will discard Night Assailant and a Dekoichi the Battle Chanted Locomotive. Night Assailant effect will trigger to return the Dekoichi to hand. So like I was mentioning before, Insidious likely running some sort of Chaos strategy here and has a combo with the Graceful Charity to get value off of it. So going plus off the Graceful, equalizing the card advantage from Scrub's Pot of Greed. So kind of back to parity here. And then we have Snatch Steal here on the Donzalug, which could be pretty big if this connects. You get to steal your opponent's monster and then also rip out a card from their hand. So Insidious going for a pretty strong play here. We'll see if it connects, though. Scrub for Life has Call of the Haunted, though. That's pretty interesting. We're going to get Call of the Haunted here to summon Blade Knight. It'll be a 1600 attack point Blade Knight, but that is just big enough to deal with Donzalug. So didn't have, I guess, either does not have or choosing not to use a battle trap, but just getting a big monster in the way of the Dawn to protect their hand and their life points simultaneously. So nice play there as well. Insidious here going to main phase 2. Their attack stymied. And they will go ahead and normal summon Tribe Infecting Virus. Okay. And then discard a Magician of Faith, getting a Light Engrave, but costing a real card. And you're going to call Warrior, pop the Donzalug, and the Blade Knight. Really interesting. So you get rid of your own Donzalug, although it was slightly at more risk of going back to Scrub's side of the field if they could just find it out for the Snatch Steal. Dealing with the Blade Knight is nice as well, of course. Tribe is very good against Warrior. Good against any sort of tribal deck, of course. Getting Light and Dark Engrave here also might be nice to turn on Chaos in the future if they have that in their hand. So Insidious at least able to deal with the first 2 threats that Scrub was able to present, which is pretty good. I guess Insidious likely rocking Chaos Turbo here. Could be Chaos Control. And then we're just going to go set a back row pass. Yeah, so I guess very worried about the Donzalug getting back onto Scrub's side of the field. With 3 unknown back row, it is pretty likely that they could have like an MST or Dust Tornado or something. cards that are all main decked in Warrior, of course. So not wanting to risk the Donzalug getting back and potentially ripping more cards out of their hand. So just going for the board wipe here. You still have the Tribe to stick around to apply a little bit of pressure. But card advantage wise, I guess Scrub for Life is actually up a little bit here because of that awkward-ish play that Insidious felt like they were forced into. So we'll see if Scrub for Life can kind of capitalize on the extra cards that they have access to. I guess it is. I guess it's because Scrub for Life went first. They're actually not up any cards. They have an extra card right now because they went first. So actually, it is even card advantage. So not the end of the world. Scrub is going to lead out with a reinforcement of the army. Plenty of monsters in the deck that can get over this Tribe Infecting Virus. Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke, of course, being one of those. So we're going to go summon the Ninja Grandmaster, attack over the Tribe. That will resolve, and now Scrub is up a card. Not too bad. So first couple threats were dealt with, but they had more gas in the form of Rhoda for Ninja Grandmaster. And Insidious is back under pressure. Let's see if they have more outs to this. With one of their strongest, or a couple of their strongest answers actually, Snatch and Tribe, both being gone. Chaos is live, though, which would be pretty strong. Let's see, though. You have to assume that there's a Solemn Judgment set, most likely. So maybe you don't want to run out the Chaos without maybe baiting out or popping the Solemn ahead of time. I'm just going to go set a monster pass. Could be a lot of things. Magician of Faith would be nice with the Graceful Charity and the Snatch, Seal, and Grave. Dekoichi is fine. I guess we do know that Insidious had a Dekoichi in hand, so pretty likely that it is just that. Spy, of course, generally very good against Warrior, but specifically not when you're facing down Ninja Grandmaster. So Insidious probably not setting that particular flip monster. I would not be surprised to just see the Dekoichi, Insidious trying to stall for a little bit, and thin their deck. Scrub here, let's see. We have not tested for Nobleman of Crossout just yet, and notably, Scrub did discard a knockoff the Graceful, which is one of the strongest cards against Chaos Turbo. So I feel like that signifies that Scrub probably has a second Nobleman in hand. In which case, Insidious, if they picked up on that, maybe would have set a little bit of a bait here instead of going for something stronger. Yeah, so they did have a bluff set Nobleman just to get another hand to play around Dust Shoot. Definitely makes sense. And it hits a Sangan. Okay, so Insidious definitely could have been baiting out that mostly known knock. Sangan is kind of an annoying card for Warrior to deal with, though, so not the end of the world for Scrub to not hit a real flip monster. And it does clear the way for your Ninja Grandmaster to apply pressure as well. Going to go in, hit in for 18. Keep this clock going. Add another backward to the board and pass. Very nice play there. Just continuing the beat down. And Insidious is going to have to find another monster. Let's see. Ooh, okay, so yeah, setting up Chaos several turns ago with the Graceful and the Tribe getting Light and Dark Engrave. And now we're going to go ahead and slam one down. It is going to be Chaos Sorcerer, of course, in attack position, so that, like, other Ninja Grandmasters can't just speed over it. Now, Scrub, like I said, likely has a Solemn set, though, and generally you want to save those for your opponent's Chaos Monsters, so we'll see if this Sorcerer actually resolves or not. It will resolve, and then Insidious will just go ahead and banish the Ninja Grandmaster. Interesting. So Scrub maybe not having the Solemn, or just choosing to hold it for later. Could be interesting. Maybe a little bit of mind games here too. Like if you Solemn the Sork and you don't have any more Solemn set, maybe you get 2 for 1 by Heavy Storm, right? So there are reasons to hold the Solemn, even if you do have it. And then Insidious is going to have a really nice follow-up play here. Having already, both knocks are gone, so any of your set monsters here are going to be a lot more safe. One Rhoda is gone as well, so less likely that they have like Rhoda for Exiled Force. And with really good spells engrave, this set monster is a bit of a threat, as well as this Chaos Sorcerer. Kind of the dual threat that Turbo can have, a Chaos monster plus a set monster, is really hard for most decks in the format to deal with efficiently. And so Scrub got off to a decent early start, applied some pressure, but now you're facing down a pretty powerful board. Let's see what their answer is, though. We're going to go MST on the back row, so clearing things out, hits a Trap Dust Shoot. And yeah, Scrub here, making sure all game that they're playing around Trap Dust Shoot, so not giving Insidious any point of using that. I guess in that regard, Insidious probably kind of fine that you ended up trading this for an MST, because it's just very, very much not a good card in the Warrior matchup, of course. They're very good at just setting their whole hand and never having Dust Shoot be live, especially when you're going second against Warrior, right? So trading for an MST is actually kind of fine. However, now the back row is empty, and Scrub could go for a pretty solid play here They do just have the Exiled Force in hand, didn't need the Rhoda to go for it. So we're going to tribute the Exiled Force, pop the set monster, hitting a Gravekeeper Spy. Yeah, so Insidious likely baiting out the known knock with the Sangan to set up for the Spy, but unfortunately for them, Scrub just had a third potential set out for the Exiled Force, and honestly, or with the Exiled Force, I should say. And honestly, that makes a lot of sense because even if you have double Noblemen in hand, they're so good against Turbo that you probably still don't want to discard one for your Graceful Charity, right? But if you have double Graceful and Exiled in hand, I can definitely understand pitching one of those um, because it is kind of a lot of redundancy at that point. And yeah, so Exiled here coming through to deal with the Spy. No back row here. Sork is kind of a sitting duck. Snatch Seal would be pretty solid. Or just BLS. Yeah, we're just going to slam down the BLS. Probably just going to attack over it. Already a Dark Engrave, so no reason to worry about that. And yeah, we're going to hit in for 3,700. Pop Insidious down to 2,300 and pass with lethal on board. Yeah, so Scrub there. Drawing all of their set monster hate. Opening double Trinity. Slamming down BLS. Just needed one light, one dark, right? Really, really strong start so far. And Insidious is now down a card. Facing lethal. Things are looking really good for our warrior player here. Another back row here added as well. Yeah, and honestly, Insidious, if you had the BLS ready to come in and deal with the Sork, definitely find holding Solemn there because it's not really too much of a threat. And now you have Solemn set likely to protect a potential out to your BLS. So saving it for, a more aggressive push, which I definitely think is the generally correct use of Solemn, is it's better when you're being aggressive because then the life point loss matters less. Because if your opponent can't threaten your life points, it's like there's no cost to the card, right? And now they're in a really, really enviable position of having BLS on board with Solemn to back it up, two other back row as well. And Insidious has basically one draw here to make things happen. Let's see. Gonna T-set pass. So, Ring is not live. It really needs to be like exactly Raigeki break. Otherwise, Scrub will either get the option of going for game with BLS attack over the set, then attack directly, or just continue to go up card advantage with BLS banish the set monster. So Insidious really needs some quick effect. Oh, never mind. We're just gonna get Ring on the BLS in the end phase. So unless Insidious has exactly Book of Moon in hand, this is just GG. And there, once again, GOAT format is one of those places where Ring plus BLS is quite a strong combo. And Scrub, yeah, very, very well played here game one. Double Trinity, of course, helped, but keeping a lot of nice set monster interaction, which is great against Turbo, and then was able to set up for a BLS plus Ring combo for game after beating in a couple times with their Ninja Grandmaster as well to soften up the opponent. So now Scrub for life, taking down game one here, Warrior versus likely Chaos Turbo. Now Insidious here, if they are just on pure Chaos Turbo, they do have the option to be siding into kind of like a smoke screen into Chaos Control, siding in like Scapegoat Metamorphosis. Not sure if like Film was like readily available for both players. I think it is in the GoFormat.com Discard server. So Scrub probably would have a good idea as to what Insidious's side deck contains. So we'll see if they go for more of a Scapegoat meta sort of thing, or more the traditional Chaos versus Warrior side, which is like Zombiras and more Solemn Judgments and more Battle Traps, things like that. Either way, Scrub needs to be prepared for a lot of stuff. Turbo is one of those decks that can afford to just side, upwards of like 6, 7, 8 cards for specifically, or aggro mostly more the Warrior matchup. So very nice that Scrub was able to win game one because it's kind of an uphill battle post side for sure. Insidious will be able to go first here as well. They're going to lead out with a Thunder Dragon, so being able to thin the deck right quite early. Getting a couple monsters in hand to threaten to cash in later. Upstart Goblin to follow it up. Now that the Thunder Dragons are out of the deck. Into double Upstart. Okay, nice. So really thinning the deck here, down to 30 cards already. But no Trinity pieces. Just going to go set a monster, set a couple back row pass. But at least finding that Thunder Dragon early. We'll see if Scrub has another double Trinity open, which could just spell doom for Insidious, though. Let's see, Pot of Greed there. So already one more Trinity than Insidious had. See if it resolves. It will. So Scrub gets to go up a card. Then we're going to go normal summon Mystic Swordsman level 2, one of those very strong anti-turbo cards coming in here. We'll see if Insidious has any protection for the set monster, otherwise it will not be long for this world. Going to attack in. Mirror Force, forced to be used very early on in the game. Of course, you want to use it to protect your set monster if it's something good like a Gravekeeper Spy, right? But having to use Mirror Force very early on in the game against an aggressive deck means that Scrub for Life can play so much more freely for the rest of this game, and we'll see if they're just able to exploit that down the line. For the time being, though, Mystic Swordsman will be dealt with. Scrub did have the knock there, yeah, so I do like this play. Pretty common out of Warriors, but even if you have the knock, if you have knock in Mystic Swordsman, you can always go attempt to get the pure +1 with the Mystic Swordsman by attacking over the set. If they have a battle trap or something like you're expecting, you can always just go to plan B, which is Nobleman of Crossout, dealing with the set regardless, and pretty nice tempo swing here for Scrub. Well, it's not a huge tempo swing because their normal summon got dealt with as well, but at least you will be preventing Insidious from resolving a flip monster. Yeah, and knocking Spy here is huge, huge, huge for Warrior. Anytime Turbo can resolve a Gravekeeper Spy against Warrior, they are in such a strong position because it just walls out basically every monster in the deck except for BLS and Ninja Grandmaster, right? So knocking Spy, removing all the copies from Insidious's deck most likely. It's just very, very strong. Only 2 could mean Insidious has the 3rd Spy in hand, which it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's obviously not as good when you don't have any more targets left in deck, but a 2000 defense monster is just kind of nice against Warrior, like I was just saying, so we'll see if Insidious is either just running double Spy, or if they have a 3rd dead one stuck in hand, but can maybe still try and set up a wall. Either way, interesting opening from both players. No one able to stick a threat just yet, but Insidious, or Scrub for Life, honestly, being able to start to simplify the board state, trading 1 for 1 over and over is actually kind of nice. Insidious has been unable to cash in any of their Thunder Dragons just yet, which Warrior is very good at exploiting, when they have like these slow, dirtily starts with dead cards in hand. So Insidious kind of on the clock here, trying to cash in these TDs. Ooh, looks like Insidious sided in Dust Tornado. Not something you always see against Warrior, but I guess it makes more sense going first in the Turbo versus Warrior matchup. And we are going to clear out this back row, which is just another Dust Tornado. Dust trading for Dust. Totally fine, but now Insidious knows the back row is empty and it can maybe go for a little bit more of an aggressive play here. Top deck Pot of Greed to start pulling away in card advantage is quite nice. And then we're going to go T-set pass again, so keeping up this tempo, using first turn advantage quite well here to continually present threats to Scrub to see if they can deal with it. Already gone through a Mystic Swordsman and a knock, so we'll see if Scrub has another knock, another Swordsman, maybe Exiled Force, maybe Mind Control. Blade Knight is another potential answer. Okay, so we're going to go and attempt to beat over. Blade Knight's the only monster on the field, so its ability to negate flip monsters is live. But Insidious will have Raigeki Break and the Sinister Serpent to make it just a pure 1 for 1, and once again protects our set monster, and now it's less likely that Scrub for Life has the plan B of main phase 2 Nobleman of Crossout, and Insidious had to work really hard for it, but might find themselves with the ability to finally resolve a flip monster this game. Okay, Scrub for Life does have the Delinquent Duo here, though, so that's pretty nice. Actually, holding Duo for a while, I guess Duo is not that great. Yeah, so Scrub for Life obviously knew that Insidious had the double TD in hand, which makes Duo a lot worse because there's a high chance that you just rip out the 2 Thunder Dragons and you don't really gain too much advantage. However, with the Sinister now known in Insidious's rotation, you're probably not going to get a better time to Duo your opponent. Except for this one when you know the Sinister is in grave. So just going to kind of fire it off here. 67% of the time, you're just hitting double Thunder Dragon here. But honestly, 1/3 of the time you hit a real card, and at least you're not hitting Sinister Serpent. So definitely like this Duo activation. Not really going to find a better time to use it, like I'm saying. And let's see. They hit the Thunder Dragon, so we'll see the other one hit the grave most likely. Totally fine. So Insidious able to hold onto their last card, and they'll be able to re-grab the Sinister Serpent. Not the end of the world, honestly. Thinking here, just going to set a back row pass, okay? And so it's looking good for Insidious to resolve this flip monster. Because I doubt Scrub for Life is playing like Raigeki Break or anything like that. Then my phase grab the Sinister. And let's see what this set was. Okay, gonna lead out with Duo here, of course. Pretty nice. Definitely don't want to flip the monster first, because then you give Scrub for Life a little bit. Well, actually, no, I guess it doesn't really matter what order you do this in at this point, because I mean, I guess in the very random case it's a Raigeki break, maybe you flip summon first. Because Chain Raigeki break here would make the duo a lot worse, but Scrub is almost definitely never playing Raigeki break, right? So, assuming no Raigeki break, duo first is fine, and you hit Mirror Force and Ring of Destruction. That is really nice. So two of the very powerful limited traps out of Scrub getting dealt with by this duo. Now you know that neither of the cards are set here as well, which are two very solid ways of stopping a potential aggressive push here for Insidious. We'll see, though, this set very well could just be the third Gravekeeper spy, though. So let's see. Oh, it is Magician of Faith. Okay, that's huge. So Insidious doing a ton of work to make sure this set could resolve, or the Sweat Monster could resolve, but it's going to pay off immediately by being able to re-grab Pot of Greed, go up an extra card with Scrub for Life so low on resources. And Turbo is just in a very, very good spot here. Now Insidious being a little bit cute, playing around potential Dust Shoot by setting a monster before firing off the Pot of Greed. Definitely think that makes sense. And then, yeah, go to battle phase, get him for 300. Might as well. No reason not to. And I'm going to set a couple back row pass, still making sure that come next turn, they will be playing around Dust Shoot. So really nice turn here for Insidious. And honestly, they are now a major, major favorite to win this game. Scrub for Life not out of it just yet, though. Going to draw for turn. It's going to set a back row pass. So not really finding anything to do with anything. Insidious. Question is this just set Sinister Serpent, or is the Sinister in hand, right? If it is the Sinister set, then not too much of a clock here to threaten Scrub just yet. So Insidious does need to find some sort of clock. It's going to be flip summon the third spy. Yeah, so as expected, the third spy was in hand. At least it's a nice clock in this scenario. You can start beating it for 15 a turn. That ain't bad. Oh, and we got Tsukuyomi here as well to set up the Suk Loop with the Magician of Faith. Wow, so just could go ahead and grab Pot of Greed once more, make Scrub's life even harder. And yeah, and there's no Ring of Destruction to instantly kill the Magician of Faith here as well. So this is, unless there's Torrential Tribute, this is basically just GG, right? Yeah, no Torrential, no Solemn. We're going to go set Faith, flip it face up, grab the pot, recur it. Third Pot of Greed resolution for the game. Generally enough to win, right? And then Insidious. Okay, we're actually not going to go into any sort of battle phase. Kind of interesting. So flipping up the spy and not attacking with it is a little bit odd to me, but maybe trying to bait out a Torrential. Maybe Insidious is saying, okay, there's a chance that they would just Torrential when I flip summon the spy to deal with the clock. And so maybe paving the way a little bit for making the Tsukuyomi play seem a little bit safer. Probably doesn't mean too much that, Scrub probably doesn't Torrential the spy, but it does make it a little bit less likely that I have it, so might as well do it. And then, I don't know, choosing not to attack, though, I guess you don't want... Well, no, Mirror Force is gone, right? Yeah, so I think Insidious maybe just forgetting to attack with the spy there, honestly. Which is a little bit funny, but is what it is. They're so far ahead that it almost does not matter. Grenade End Phase MST on the new back row hits Ring of Destruction. Sure. So both players not having Mirror Force or Ring in this game. Or at least not for the rest of the game. Scrub here. Gonna go fire off a Rhoda. Okay, you can go Rhoda for Exiled. Pop this Faith. Or Rhoda for like another Blade Knight. Beat over the Faith. You have to break up this Suk Loop if you want to have any chance of winning, of course. It's very unlikely even if you can do that, but you definitely for sure need to deal with the Suk Loop. Gonna go grab that Donzalug, which I guess makes sense, right? You can maybe get a nice little like 2-for-1-ish sort of thing here, breaking up the Suk Loop and ripping out another card. Also, Donzalug smartly is Tsukuyomi proof because it has more than 1100 defense. So even if you don't hit the Tsukuyomi off the random Donzalug discard, you're not at, you don't have to worry about the suit coming in and killing your Don, right? Where you would have if you just wanted to like slam a Blade Knight or something, because a lot of Warriors monsters are weak to Tsukuyomi. Insidious does just have the Sakuretsu armor here, though. So Scrub, unable to break up the Souk loop. Ooh, okay, no, maybe not. We have Call of the Hunted to revive the Dawn. Okay. Do we have Sakuretsu number 2? We do not. Okay, so the Faith is dealt with. Insidious will get a card ripped out of their hand. They hit a Swords of Revealing Light, which is a very powerful card in the matchup, so nice to know you don't have to worry about that. And now the Souk Loop is dealt with. You're still down a million cards, and Spy can just wall out your Dawn, of course, so you're not really going to be able to make any more progress, but at least now you're not just going to like get grinded away into infinity immediately. So at least having the nice 1-2 punch, Rhoda into Dawn, plus Call to back up in case there was a battle trap. Decent play there from Scrub. Likely won't matter, but I like, this is the semifinals of a major tournament. You're going to take any % chance of winning that you can have, of course. Let's see. So now, notably, Danzlug also, like I was saying, walls out Tsukiyomi plus Spy. So Insidious does need to find another threat or a way to deal with the Dawn to actually represent a clock here. And we're just going to go turn the Spy to defense, wall the Dawn that way, and set a monster pass, keeping the Tsukiyomi in hand most likely. And Scrub can take a breather here a little bit, but still very far behind, of course. Yeah, we're just going to go Dawn to defense, set a back row pass. These sort of stalemate situations definitely favor the Chaos Turbo player. Just going to set a back row pass, yeah. We'll get hit with Dust Tornado in the end phase, so no more Sakuretsu armor. It's 2 copies gone out of the possible 3, as well as a Mirror Force, so Insidious potentially running low on battle traps. Unless they're one of those lists that run like Widespread Ruin, but that's pretty rare nowadays. Scrub, though, let's see. Just going to draw a pass. A little bit of a stalemate here, guys. Ooh, Insidious does find Zambira the Dark, though. And now we kind of get a nice hint into what sort of deck Insidious is playing. Seems like they're doing more of the standard pure Chaos Turbo, no smoke screen shenanigans. We're just going to play our big beaters. We're going to play our Sakuretsu armors and deal with you that way. Now, I would assume we'll see the Spy turn into attack position to start clocking the opponent as well. Zambira will go ahead, kill that Danzalug. Yep, power down to 19. So it is weak to potential like top deck Blade Knight, but getting value there by beating over the Dawn, totally worth it. And you open up the board for Spy to start poking in for a little bit of damage. So nice play there out of Insidious, finding the out for the Dawn, breaking the stalemate in their favor. Now, notably, this set monster has not flipped up, so could be... we knew Sinister Serpent was in Insidious' hand, so could very much just be that. Something like a Sangan definitely flips face up, right? So it's almost definitely Sinister Serpent that's set there. Scrub here, 2 cards to their name. Gonna set a monster pass. Try and dissuade this clock. Maybe power down the Zambira. 1 more kill and it will die to like a Ninja Grandmaster. So that makes it a little bit less strong. But at that point, Zambira's already gone +2, so it's not the end of the world for Insidious if it gets killed after that, of course. We're gonna get Ceasefire here, yeah. Known Sinister Serpent being confirmed. Insidious actually keeping the Ceasefire in post side. I guess that's an interesting card because some warrior decks do side deck flip monsters like Magician of Faith, like Gravekeeper Spy. And so if you don't want to like play a whole like potentially dead card like Nobleman of Crossout against warrior, you could play Ceasefire, which at least will burn the opponent for something. Yeah, and I mean, if it is Magician of Faith or Spy, that would be really annoying for Insidious. So gonna flip it up there. Ooh, and negating the Faith. That's a huge Ceasefire, actually. Because Scrub could have resolved the Faith, grabbed Pot, and then they actually would have been in a little bit better of a position. But the Ceasefire coming out here will burn Scrub for 2k and prevent their Faith from resolving, most importantly. And now another avenue for them to get back into this game is completely shot. So, cool. Not a card that you would ever, honestly, I would ever expect to see post side in the Turbo versus Warrior Mirror. Honestly, not a card that's even played generally in Turbo, but I have seen it a little bit more recently. So interesting side deck card that's getting a good amount of use here. Yeah, you get to burn Scrub for 2k. Zambira will kill the Faith, pave the way for Spy to poke in for another 12. Like I said, Zambira is now at 17, which is a lot weaker than most of the monsters in a warrior deck, though, so it very likely chance that it's just kind of done its job at this point, is now going to get beaten over. But Insidious has another set monster to continue to apply pressure. Another Magician of Faith would go absolutely insane. Could be Dekoichi, that's quite good in this scenario as well. Yeah, Scrub just continually backed into a corner, unable to really do much here. Okay, looks like they found Blackluster Soldier, though. That's pretty nice. We're going to go banish that set. Hitting a Night Assailant. Wow, so Insidious keeping the Night Assailants in post-side against Warrior is not something that you generally see. It is quite weak against... You know, it's either pretty dirtily in your hand if you're trying to set up, like, cheeky Gravekeeper, or cheeky, like, Graceful Charity plays, which is kind of what Warrior is good at punishing. And it's not the most high-impact flip, because it's pretty easily dealt with by, like, Blade Knights and Mystic Swordsmen and things like that. So interested to see the Assailant post-side against Warrior, but it is just going to get banished by the BLS. And Scrub at least has board control. They got to plus from that. We'll see if Insidious has an out for the BLS. I guess this is, like, Scrub's maybe third opportunity to get back into this game. If they can stick around with their BLS on board and plus with it a bunch, with Insidious's entire board being face-up monsters, that could be a rub back into this game. So Insidious actually is kind of on a clock here to deal with this BLS before Scrub just finds themselves back at parity. Let's see, though. Insidious. Okay, we're going to get Tsukuyomi, set the BLS. So we're going to knock it? No, we're not. We're just going to set a back row pass. Maybe setting up for a Torrential Tribute, though. Forcing Scrub to go flip summon, maybe? Let's see. See if Scrub plays into it. Thinking about it hard. If there is no... I mean, even if you get Torrential, it's not the end of the world, because then you're just back at parity, right? For the most part. No, we're just going to set a back row pass. Yeah, it's pretty safe to keep BLS set here, because like I was saying before, Insidious, unlikely to have Nobleman of Crossouts here post-side. Although they did have Ceasefire, so they do have some set monster hate. But choosing not to play into Torrential here, Insidious could just be bluffing it, of course. And honestly, with Scrub, if you're this far behind... I don't know, well, I guess BLS is probably the only way you win this game. So maybe it's not worth risking it. Maybe you want to find, especially if this is like a Dust Tornado or something that you just set, there is a good chance. Like, it's probably worth waiting a turn to pop the potential Torrential and make sure that this BLS will not die. So, depending on what this back row is, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, honestly, to not play into Torrential right now. If it's not Dust Tornado, though, like, can you afford to just wait around and not get value off of this BLS? Seems like that's kind of playing right into Turbo's hand. So I guess we'll see exactly how this plays out. But Scrub, obviously, in kind of an unenviable position at the moment. Oh, Insidious top decks Graceful Charity for turn as well. They don't have the Sinister in hand, but maybe just looking to try and find it out for the BLS. Oh, and so they have both Night Assailants in post side, so Night Assailant will get some value here. Can bounce the Faith back to hand. Tsukuyomi gets discarded as well, which gets another Dark Engrave. So getting 2 Darks Engrave to potentially set up for multiple Chaos Monsters would be pretty strong. We're going to go Breaker first, clear out the back row, hitting a Premature Burial. And now the back row is clear for someone like BLS to come down. Yep, we're going to go BLS, and yeah, this is just game, right? Yeah, BLS plus Spy plus Breaker is GG. And yeah, that was kind of a foregone conclusion for a while. I think Scrub doing a good job of fighting back as best they could there in game 2, but Turbo just did Turbo things. Right. Faith resolving Pot of Greed 3 times is almost impossible for any deck in the format to come back against, so game 2 is kind of a foregone conclusion ever since that happened, but Insidious closing it out nicely, finding the Graceful to go dig for BLS to go for the game shot. And that is game 2 here in the semifinals of the PWCQ. Game 3, Scrub for Life on their more aggressive Warrior strategy will be able to go first, which is a great boon for them. But this is now winner takes all. Winner will find themselves in the finals. Winner, I think, depending on how many people signed up for this tournament, will get an invite to the World Championships, right? I think if there's more than 65 entrants, or more than 64 entrants, which I think this tournament hit, top 2 get World invites. So this is winner take all. Winner gets an invite to Worlds. Super high stakes here. Scrub definitely happy that they get to go first at least. That's the benefit of winning game 1. And we'll see if they can take it down on their Warrior strategy. Just going to start out with a set monster pass, or set back row pass, which does seem like kind of a lame opening for Warrior. I mean, finally, Scrub did not open multiple Trinity, right? Or I don't know if they opened multiple Trinity last game, but they did open Pot. But yeah, no Trinity right off the bat here. Warrior, of course, pretty normal to not just like summon out a monster if you can't protect it turn 1, because you'd rather wait until you can attack with it. Really good if this is like Trap Dust Shoot as well to get some extra intel. More value for Warrior going first is that it's more likely that you can resolve your Dust Shoots. Looks like they don't have one though, so interested to see what this back row is. Insidious is just going to go normal summon Sangan, start clocking Scrub for life for 1,000 a turn. Sangan is really, really annoying for Warrior to deal with, unless they have exactly BLS or exactly DD Warrior Lady. So Insidious going a little bit aggressive here makes sense. Now, not setting the Sangan might be a little bit of a tell that they don't have any other flip monsters in hand. Because if you had like a spy or something high prior that you want to resolve flip-wise, you maybe set the Sangan here and try and bait out Noblemen of Crossouts or Exiled Forces or things like that. So Insidious going for the normal summon Sangan could be signifying that they don't have any of those powerful flips. Or it could be a mind game, of course. And it's like, oh, well, he knows I'll only summon Sangan if I have no flips. So I'm going to summon Sangan, and then maybe he won't think that I have any real flips or something. I don't know. I don't think that actually works out too well for you most of the time. So probably pretty likely Insidious doesn't have any like spies or anything in hand. Gonna add a back row here though, getting a little bit aggressive. Pretty nice start here for Insidious. Neither player opening Trinity here though, so whoever finds one first could actually be in a pretty good scenario. We're gonna get End Phase Dust Tornado, pop the set, dealing with the Saku. Back row gone. If Scrub can go like Rhoda into DD Warrior Lady, this would be really strong for them. Let's see. We're just gonna go T-set pass. Okay. We do know Scrub is at least on the Magician of Faith technology in the 55, but no spells engraved, so pretty unlikely that that's what this is. Could be Spy though. Spy is of course a good way to wall up the Sangan. We'll see though. It could also be DD Warrior Lady, and then Insidious might like attack into it, and then you don't have to like you don't really give up the tempo of like DD Warrior Lady crash into Sangan, banish it, and then you have no monsters on the field. So I actually wouldn't hate set DD Warrior Lady here and try and debate the Sangan to attack into it. We'll see obviously exactly what this is though. Insidious not potentially taking the bait though, just going to turn the Sangan to defense. It's not really going to get over most of the monsters in Scrub's deck. Set Donzalug is something you have to worry about as well, because Donzalug does trigger when someone crashes into it when it's in defense mode. So if Insidious goes Sangan attack into Don, they will lose a card in their hand. So yeah, I think smartly here Insidious, backing off a little bit with the aggression. You're definitely not the aggressor in this matchup anyway, so totally fine to play it safe. Not run into a DD Warrior Lady or a Donzalug. And just follow up with another set monster, which is another thing that Scrub is going to have to potentially deal with. Scrub gets to draw for turn. It's going to be Exiled Force. Okay, so just trying to wall out the Sangan here with the 1,000 defense versus the 1,000 offense, which makes sense because obviously you don't want to have the Sangan hit the grave and give Insidious the search. But now Exiled here in a decent spot. We're going to flip summon it and then likely tribute it to deal with this new set monster, which was a Gravekeeper Spy. Okay, so Insidious, interestingly choosing not to bait out set interaction with their Sangan. If you forced Scrub to go for Exiled on your Sangan or baited him into that, that would be a massive card advantage swing for Insidious. So interesting that they chose not to do that. Now, maybe they didn't have the Spy in hand turn 1. They could have just drawn it for turn or something. But not attempting to bait out anything, and now your Spy is dealt with, which is a very high impact card in the matchup. And so, honestly, solid win there for Scrub, just making sure the Spy can't resolve. And, like, you don't really care about the Sangan too much. Scrub, though, not having a follow-up normal summon, or maybe just not wanting to use it because they don't have a solid way of dealing with the Sangan. So, Sangan is at least good at making it awkward for your opponent. So, Insidious might be able to get in for a little bit more chip damage here. Yeah, it gets to hit in for 1k. Totally fine. Scrub will drop down to 6,000, so decent clock. And add a back row here as well. So, actually, no normal summon out of Insidious either. So, both players potentially not having too much going for them. This might be a long one, which does favor A, the player with the threat on board, and B, the player that's not, traditionally the aggressor in the matchup, which in both cases is Insidious. Right. Scrub's going to draw for turn, though. Desperately wants to find it out for this Sangan. We're just going to go Blade Knight. Just going to say, screw it. I'm going to let you get the search. I guess this is fine. The big threat off of a Sangan search is that they go and grab, like, a Tsukuyomi to then start plussing and killing your monsters. But if you have like Ring or Battle Trap or something to deal with the Sook, it could be totally fine. And like I was just saying, if you're the warrior player, you can't just sit around all day and try and wait for the optimal answer to Sangan. You do kind of have to push the issue eventually, otherwise Turbo will just outvalue you in the long run. So Blade Knight here getting in for 600 damage. Insidious is just going to go Sakuretsu armor. So going for more of a tempo play here. Could have saved the Saku, but preferring to keep this threat on board and continue to be annoying, which is interesting. Scrub here, yeah, totally fine. And the Sangan can continue to beat in. Interesting choice there for Insidious. Not going for the search, but just looking to continue to apply pressure, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, gets to get in for 1,000 more. Scrub drops to 5k. This ain't nothing, right? Sangan has dealt 3,000 damage so far this turn. That's a high value critter there, right? And we're going to add another back row pass. 2 Saku's already gone through, but still likely one more and still Mirror Force in the deck, of course. Scrub will draw for turn. We'll see if they have another aggressive monster to try and get over the Sangan. Let's see. No, just going to pass. So a little bit bricked here, or just like biding their time. And Sangan's going to get in for another 1k here. Dropping Scrub all the way to 4,000. Suddenly, the Sangan is going to kill you soon, obviously, right? You don't have all the time in the world. Insidious does find another set monster to potentially bait some stuff out here. Or resolve and, it could be another spy, right? We know they're on triple spy. So second one would still be live if the third copy is still in the deck. So give something for Scrub to worry about here while so slowly but surely Sangan whittles them down. Scrub, let's see. We're going to go MST on the back row. Okay, hitting a Mirror Force, which is nice. So another Battle Trap dealt with, the strongest of them all. And now the back row is clear for you to maybe make a play. Let's see. Premature Burial on... Are we going to go Blade Knight or Exiled? Let's see. If it's Spy, you want to go Exiled. If it's not, Blade Knight is better. So we're going to say, okay, I hope this isn't Spy. Blade Knight will attack the set monster. And it is a Sinister Serpent. Okay, interesting for Insidious to go for that play. Just to kind of wall some stuff out a little bit. Obviously, we'll be able to recur that on their own turn. So Scrub actually, paying it 800 life when you're already at 4k is actually a decent chunk of your LP total as well. So not really making any progress here. I think once again favors Insidious. Serpent doing his job is just a little bit of a wall there. Now the Sangan is, unfortunately for Insidious, walled out. They won't be able to get in for damage this turn, most likely. But most of the damage is already done there, of course, right? Scrub is going to go set a bunch of back row, though, so likely a Solemn Judgment here, as well as a bunch of other interesting things for Insidious to worry about. Playing around potential Dust Shoot, although those aren't going to be in post side for Turbo, of course. Insidious, though, can go grab that Sinister. Would not be surprised to see a Dust Shoot out of Scrub here. No, so we haven't seen a single Dust Shoot resolve. All match for either player, which is pretty interesting. Insidious is going to go put up the shields, though. We're going to go Sangan to defense, set maybe the Serpent, maybe something else, and then add a back row here as well, which might just eat a Dust Tornado. Would not be surprised to see that. Yeah, Dust Tornado eats it. Just Book of Moon. Decent kind of, utility card against Warrior, so not the end of the world that it got hit. But once again, the back row is clear if Scrub wants to get a little bit more aggressive here. Go to battle phase, attack the set. It's just a Sinister here again, and honestly, once again, still totally fine for Insidious. Just continuing to wall this Blade Knight. Sangan continues to be annoying. Scrub doesn't have Light or Dark Engrave, so BLS Banish Sangan is a pipe dream at the moment. Insidious can once again regrab that Serpent. Got 6 cards in hand. We're going to go normal summon Zambira. Okay, cool. Definitely can start getting some value beating over this Blade Knight. This is clearly Scrub's only threat at the moment, most likely. So dealing with it will make them even more kind of assured. We're going to get Ring of Destruction out of Scrub, though. Popping the Zambira, and both players will take 2,100. So Scrub will drop all the way down to 1,100 damage, which is super risky, right? Ring out of Insidious is basically game at this point. But, like I was saying, Scrub, this Blade Knight is pretty much definitely your only threat. So Insidious saying, okay, if I can deal with this, I'm in an amazing spot. And Scrub is basically forced to ring to protect their one threat, even if it sends them all the way down to 1,100. And, man, things are looking really good for Insidious at this point. Just going to pass, though. No back row. Once again, so Scrub could set up for something interesting. Gonna draw for turn, sitting here at 1100 life points. And now you very much need to start making things happen, right? Because eventually Insidious will just draw ring and you will lose. So you need to start putting the pedal to the metal if you can. Let's see. Deep in the tank. We're going to go Snatch on the Sangan, which is pretty awkward, but it at least removes the wall. Sangan is at least strong enough that it cancels out the Snatch Steal life gain, right? And now it allows you to start beating with this Blade Knight every turn without having to worry about the opponent getting a Sangan search. A little bit of a desperate play here to try and get the aggression going, but it is a solid one, I think. Especially if you have another monster to attack in here with, it can be pretty good to put your opponent on a strong clock here. Let's see. Tribe Infecting Virus is a monster. Cool. And you can start beating in. This is 4,200 damage a turn. Wow, so this will be 42. It'll put Insidious down to 17. I'll go up to 27 off of the Snatch Steal life gain. But this is passing with lethal on board. Going in for a ton of damage. And Insidious, their hand, just no back row, just super monster clogged. Maybe lots of chaos that they can't do anything with because they have no lights. They haven't found Thunder Dragon. And, you know, Scrub looking pretty bad, right? Sitting at 1,100 life points. But it seems like Insidious is a little bit bricked out here. Both players with pretty suboptimal draws this game. Not a single Trinity resolved by either player either, right? And so this ragtag band of monsters, a 1,600 attack Blade Knight, a lowest power possible Blade Knight that was premature burial, a Snatch Shield Sangan, and a 1,600 vanilla ganging up here to put Insidious on a 2-turn clock, but it might just be enough, right? Sinister Serpent isn't enough to save Insidious. Sangan can just kill it, and then 3,200 damage from both the Blade and the Tribe. So this is lethal on board for Scrub in Game 3 of the semifinals here. World Championship qualification, I think, on the line, right? Let's see. Insidious takes the Snatch Steal life gain, goes up to 2,700. Do you have anything? They find a Thunder Dragon. Okay, so they get a Light Engrave, potentially turning Chaos on. Scrub, though, we do know, almost definitely has a Solemn Judgment here, so a single Chaos monster might not be enough. Although, honestly, with the way Insidious has been playing, they could have double Chaos in hand. I would not be surprised at that. Let's see, though. Yep, grabbing those Thunder Dragons. Let's see. Yep, gonna go for Chaos. Sorcerer comes down. That resolves, and we're going to use Prio to banish the Tribe. Okay, so one threat dealt with. All right, and now Lethal is removed from the board, right? And we're going to go set a monster pass. Okay, so Scrub, maybe not having the Solemn. Maybe just having a couple Chainables. Or maybe has something else up their sleeve, right? But now the classic Turbo 1-2 of Slam Chaos Monster, set another potential flip or something has been achieved. And Scrub, you pass with lethal on board, but Insidious had a very strong follow-up. And you need to close this game out soon, otherwise this Sork is just going to plus you into Oblivion, and they'll just gain a bunch of life off of the Snatch Steal in the same game. Scrub, though, main phase 1. We're going to go Smashing Ground to deal with the Sorcerer. Very powerful card. Generally, you bring it in to deal with some buyers, but it'll do the job against the Chaos Sorcerer just fine. And now, Monster plus Knock is game. If we have any monster and we have an Nobleman of Cross up. Okay, Blade Knight. Ooh, if Sangan can get over. Honestly, Scrub may be saying, okay, you know, maybe you just set your Sinister Serpent here because you haven't really played any other monsters, and he knows that he just top-decked Thunder Dragon for turn, right? So calling this bluff here is like, I mean, this is basically always Sinister Serpent, right? Because we know Insidious top-decked the Thunder Dragon. They never set pretty much any other monster. I mean, they used their normal summon on Zambira last turn, but up until then, they had just been setting Serpent every turn, right? So you would think that they had no monsters in hand, or no playable monsters in hand, except for Serpent, until they top-decked Zambira, then they used it, and then they top-decked Thunder Dragon the next turn, which all nets out to, this is probably just Serpent, in which case Sangan kill it, double Blade Knight is GG. Oh, actually, well, so now that you normal summon the Blade Knight, though, this Blade Knight is actually just a 2k. So never mind. I got a little bit ahead of myself, though. I mean, it still is probably Sinister Serpent, right? But you could actually just go Blade Knight attack, and then Sangan plus Blade Knight here is GG. So we'll probably just see that, even though it is probably that Sinister. And Blade Knight attacks in. Oh, it's a Knight Assailant. Okay, wow. So Insidious having the Knight Assailant, I guess that's another dirtily card that could have been stuck in hand, but they would have preferred setting the Serpent over the they probably would have preferred to set the Serpent over the Knight Assailant at various points, because this is just a pure +1, or would have been a pure +1 with just the Blade Knight on board for Scrub if it killed the Knight Assailant, whereas Sinister get recurred here. But Knight Assailant actually getting a little bit of value here. Once again, not the most common card to see post side against Warrior, but it will get some value. It will defend against lethal. You'll have Assailant effect pop the second Blade Knight. Sangan will get in for 1k, but then Insidious will just gain that 1k right back. Call of the Haunted would be game, though, if Scrub has it. Sangan gets in for 1k. Show me the call. Nope, not going to have it. And now, once again, Scrub passing with lethal on board as long as they can get a card out of hand to power with the Blade Knight again. But now the Sinister is actually kind of annoying if you can't deal with it. So both players down, super low life, very high stakes. Scrub trying to desperately deal these last points of damage. Can they force it through? Or will Insidious's hand just kind of get unbricked? Let's see. Still no Trinity resolved by either player this match, by the way, for this game. Insidious goes back up to 27. Let's see. Just going to discard second Thunder Dragon to set up for another Chaos Monster. Definitely makes sense. Did Scrub hold the Solemn, though? Do we have the Solemn here? BLS comes down. Solemn Judgment out of Scrub. Held it here. Said, you know what? I still think I can win through the Chaos Sorcerer. So let me hold it. And now hitting the big boy himself, BLS. And now you got lethal on board, right? Assuming you can power up your Blade Knight. Is that enough? Still Chaos Online for Insidious. Could go for Sork number 2 of the game. Just going to set a monster pass, though. Could very well just be Sinister Serpent. Has Scrub done it at 550 life points? Dealing with 2 Chaos Monsters? Let's see. Haiku, the Ghost Destroyer coming through. Powering up that Blade Knight. And now, now it's just Kaiku kill it, Blade Knight plus Sangan is lethal. Or you could just go Blade Knight kill it, Kaiku plus... Blade Knight kill it, Kaiku plus Sangan is game. Unless it's another Knight Assailant, but that's pretty unlikely. It would be funny, though. Let's see, Kaiku attack. And that is GG. The set was a Magician of Faith, which is not enough. Would have only had Book of Moon to grab either. And Scrub for life in what looked like such a bad start for them, getting wailed on by Sangan turn after turn, going down to 1,100 life points, with rings still left in Insidious's deck, going for a very desperate snatch steal on the Sangan play just to try and kickstart their offense, ends up finding the win, had the Solemn to deal with BLS, had the Smashing Ground to deal with Chaos Sorcerer, and found just enough damage to kill off the opponent. And they will win the semifinals, advance to the finals, which are on Monday, by the way. Do not forget, definitely tune into that. I hope someone will be streaming. And I think they got a Worlds invite off of this. I would have to confirm, but even if they didn't get the chance to play for one on Monday. So very well played here for Scrub, taking it down 2-1. Warrior against Chaos Turbo. Very, very back and forth, interesting matches the whole time. And Scrub, I'm sure, feels good about this one. Very well played. I hope you guys enjoyed this match, and I will catch you all next time.